Hey everyone, this is Do Dreamer. So it's been a while since I talked about what's going on in the wrestling community and also the wrestling industry. It's been a while, and mainly it's because I've been mostly working on my other projects that people are actually taking the time to watch. But anyway, a good friend of mine on Facebook had pretty much asked me a question if I knew what Randy Orton said about the Indies. And at first I'm like, no, I haven't heard much about it. So he showed me some screenshots of an article that he got it from, or what Orton said. And this was actually in response to wrestling vet and trainer Rip Rogers. And he was pretty much laying out how he feels this is the formula of indie wrestling nowadays. And I had the chance to read it, and you can see it in the screenshot right now. I kind of do agree with him. And this is coming from an indie wrestler myself, you know. This is coming from an indie wrestler. And I kind of agree what he has to say about that, you know, because I just feel that with indie wrestling today, it's got a little bit... There's not much variety, in my opinion. There's not much variety, especially with these top performers in the indies. And I'm not knocking their athleticism. I think their athleticism is great. I think they have great passion for what they're doing. I just feel that with the same formula of the handshake, doing a flashy moves, getting the chant, this is awesome, and then doing moves, not selling, acting like it doesn't faze them, and then still going to the next move, not taking their time to tell a story. Pretty much that. And I kind of agree with that. I really agree that, you know, there's hardly any storytelling in professional wrestling. Like, people were asking me, what's your thoughts on Will Ospreay versus Ricochet, that match? And, of course, a lot of vets had a lot of things to say about it. Me, I told people that, yes, it's today's wrestling, it's what it is, but at the same time, doesn't mean that we can't criticize. Because I believe, I saw the match. And like I said, from what it looks like, it looked beautiful. It looks wonderful. Athletic-wise. But in terms of telling a story, not so much. In terms of selling, not so much. You know, it just looked more like a demonstration of what they can do athletic-wise. To me, that's how it is. But am I knocking them in terms of, like, say, they suck? Heck no. But that's how I feel. I like watching a wrestling match that tells a story. But anyway, what Rip Rogers had to say, I agree with. But then comes out Randy Orton, who pretty much had a lot of negative things to say about indie wrestling, which I get where he's coming from. I get where he's coming from. You can read it for yourself, what he had to say. I get where he's coming from, but I feel that he shouldn't be acting as if that he's on the top of the food chain and I'm better than these guys. Now, granted, in reality, he's on the top of the food chain. He's part of one of the biggest and largest wrestling companies in the freaking world, WWE. But he shouldn't act as if that people in the indies are worthless. Because that's pretty much what he's saying. Like, you guys are doing all this, wasting your time, and all that. And I feel like that's wrong. Like, show some respect to these people who are actually going out there, doing what they love, showing passion for this craft. Even though, yes, they're doing things I don't agree with, but at least they're showing passion. The same passion that Bob Orton Jr. had before going into WWE. Because if you think about it, back in the territory days, that was sort of the indies before going to either places like the WWE or even NWA as a whole, or AWA, or even WCW. You get what I'm saying, guys. They had to do something to make a name for themselves, to be on a big stage. And Bob Orton did that. As opposed to Randy Orton, he never really had the opportunity to actually know what it's like to go out there to make a name for himself before going to the big stage. Yes, he'd been into developmental. And that was because of, you know, his father had connections. He had connections and got into developmental, trained to wrestle, then become a big star in WWE. Now, I'm not knocking that. I'm not going to knock that because wherever you get training, to be a professional wrestler is good. If you get it from developmental and never been in the indies, it's still good because you're being trained to wrestle. You're being trained to know how to do a match, to perform. And I am a firm believer that even if you were just trained by the WWE, you can still make it in the indies. But it doesn't give anyone the right that if you had that type of an advantage to make people feel bad, especially veterans who are not in the big stage anymore and just want to do indie wrestling because they still love wrestling, and knocking them down, saying that, well, you guys can go on and perform in front of hundreds of people while I perform in front of thousands of people and making millions of dollars. That's bad. That's bad, guy. That's bad. I don't agree with what you said. I get what you're trying to say. I get what you're trying to say, because I do agree to an extent that, yes, professional wrestling in the indies has got to a point where people are overusing moves, to a point where it doesn't really mean much anymore, like the super kick. Or people doing dives, especially when people are doing dives they're not supposed to, and just doing it just to get a reaction, rather than, is this part of a storyline? But at the same token, with Randy Orton, I wouldn't go and say stuff like that. Especially to a person who was one violation away from being fired years ago. And where would you go to continue your crap? Are you going to quit? Or are you going to continue? You're going to have to work somewhere, and that's the indies. Maybe in TNA, maybe in Japan, but still. We're in the age right now where the internet itself, word spreads out like wildfire. And God forbid if you get fired from the WWE because you did something stupid, do you really think that anyone's going to really treat you any better? Probably not. In the indies. They're going to treat you like, ha ha ha, you're just a has-been now. We can treat you like dirt. Now, granted, there are going to be indie feds that are going to want to hire you because you're a big name and you can draw people. But it doesn't mean they're going to treat you right. So, you may think you're untouchable. You may think you're untouchable now. But as I always say, in the business of professional wrestling, nobody is untouchable. Nobody. And everyone is replaceable. And I've learned that the hard way before in this business. So that's my thoughts on this whole situation. I'd like to know what you guys think. Do you agree what Rip Rogers said about indie wrestling? Which I said I kind of agree to him to an extent, because it is sort of the formula, you know, where most of the finishes are roll-ups and stuff, and nothing really impactful, you know, and not much storytelling. And do you agree with what Randy Orton has to say about indie wrestling? So please leave your thoughts and comments down below, and tell what you guys think. We're going to discuss and debate about it. Alright guys, this is Do a Dreamer, and always dream big.